Soon after lunchtime, on Wednesday 24th July 1940, 3 Hurricanes of No. 151 Squadron took off from the 11 Group aerodrome at North Weald in Essex in dismal weather to try and intercept an unidentified aircraft known as an X-ray that had been detected in the Clacton area. Just after takeoff, the X-ray was identified as a friendly aircraft and the 3 Hurricanes were recalled. The 151 Squadron Operations Record Book records that the 3 Hurricanes were serial number P3316, flown by Commanding Officer Squadron Leader Edward Teddy Donaldson, DSO, P3316, flown by Pilot Officer Jack Hamar, Donaldson's regular number 2 or wingman, and P3065, flown by Sergeant George Atkinson. The record book times the takeoff at 14:05 hours and 2 Hurricanes, flown by Donaldson and Atkinson, back on the ground at 14:10 hours. Hamar's Hurricane, meanwhile, had crashed, killing the pilot. Long after the war, Donaldson gave a detailed account of events that day. The weather was appalling when Donaldson received a telephone call while at readiness from Air Vice Marshal Keith Park, the 11 Group commander, who explained about the X-ray and asked Donaldson if he was prepared to take off despite the weather to try to intercept it. After discussing the matter with Hamar, who agreed to go after the unidentified aircraft, the 3 Hurricanes took off but were recalled soon after. Groping their way through the murk back to North Weald, the trio prepared to land. After previous sorties, it had become customary for Donaldson and Hamar to break left and right as they came in, pulling up to roll in opposite directions before landing. At North Weald on the 24th, Donaldson realised that the 2 Hurricanes were too slow and low in the murky conditions to complete the manoeuvre safely, but to his horror saw Hamar's Hurricane start to pull up into the usual roll. Realising the danger, Donaldson immediately yelled, "Don't," but was too late, and he and Atkinson could only watch horrified as Hamar's Hurricane stalled inverted and plunged to the ground. Contrary to the information in a number of authoritative published histories and websites, however, the resultant crash was not on the airfield itself. An eyewitness to what happened that day was local man Jeff Willis, who was interviewed in the mid-1970s and described what he saw. He was at Thaden Garnon on a dismal, murky day in the summer of 1940 when a flight of Hurricanes passed low overhead. Looking up, he saw that one of them was upside down. The next second, it fell to the ground in a field at Little Park Hall, completely wrecking the aircraft, which buried its nose in the ground and killing the pilot. An unusually detailed ARP report that evening summarised the incident. The message read, 24th July at 14:05, Pilot Officer Jack Royston Hamar, aged 25, 151 Squadron, home address Hillcrest, Knighton. Crashed in field at Little Park Hall, Thaden Garnon. The sequence of events that afternoon can be traced through documents in Pilot Officer Hamar's Air Ministry Casualty File, now at the National Archives, Kew. At 15:25, a signal was sent from 151 Squadron to the Air Ministry Casualty Section, giving details of the casualty, aircraft and location of the crash, 400 yards south of the aerodrome. The signal reports that Pilot Officer Hamar's body was still at the crash site at the time. The aircraft was a complete write-off and had been armed with 2,640 rounds of ammunition. Hamar's next of kin had not by then been informed. 5 minutes later, the senior medical officer at North Weald sent a signal to the senior medical officer for No. 11 Group, informing him that Pilot Officer Jack Royston Hamar of 151 Squadron North Weald had been killed as a result of a flying accident at 1400 hours. Death was due to multiple injuries. By 17:30, a further signal records that Hamar's body had been recovered and moved to the station mortuary at North Weald. The Air Ministry Form 1180 Flying Accident Card, archived at the RAF Museum, also records the location of the crash as 400 yards south of North Weald and gives the cause of the accident as carried out to slow roll at too low a speed, crashed into ground, low aerobatics. There is no doubt then that Hamar's crash was in a field south of North Weald near Little Park Hall rather than on the airfield itself as it's so often stated. As well as being Donaldson's number 2, faithfully guarding his tail through weeks of combat, Hamar and Donaldson were close personal friends. Donaldson later said that Hamar's death had a profound impact on him. He was so badly shaken, in fact, that Wing Commander Victor Beamish, the station commander at North Weald, decided that he should leave the squadron for a short rest. On 5th August, Donaldson, who had led 151 Squadron with skill and daring throughout the Battle of France, Dunkirk and the Battle of Britain, was posted to No. 5 Flying Training School as Chief Flying Instructor. Coming so soon after the death of Battle of France ace Edgar Cobber Kane in a very similar accident at Armentières, France on 7th June 1940, Hamar's loss was another blow to RAF Fighter Command, which could ill afford to lose men of such quality and experience in avoidable accidents. Ironically, and rather poignantly, Jack Hamar had been informed the night before he was killed that he had been awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross. The award was recorded officially in the London Gazette of 30th July 1940. Pilot Officer Jack Royston Hamar, since deceased. This officer has participated in all operational and most of the patrol flights undertaken by his squadron. He has shown great coolness and courage of a high order and has personally destroyed 6 enemy aircraft. Little Park Hall was demolished during the construction of the M11 motorway in the late 1970s, and no trace of it remains. Few drivers heading south down the M11 towards London today will realise that soon after they pass the aerodrome at North Weald, they will speed by the scene of such a tragic Battle of Britain loss. This film is dedicated to the memory of Pilot Officer Jack Royston Hamar, DFC.